Will Graham is a retired FBI agent specialising in profiling serial killers. He is called back into active service in an attempt to find a new killer nicknamed the Tooth Fairy. Graham's last case was to capture the notorious Hannibal Lecter, who savagely wounded him in the process, Graham also suffering a mental breakdown. He now revisits Lecter, asking for his assistance in tracking down the new killer, but he also wants to observe Lecter, as he puts it, to recover the mindset. His previous successes were due to his ability to think like the killers, see the world as they do, and it's this insight and instinct he wishes to utilise. Lecter, however, has other plans. Manhunter was the first on-screen outing for Hannibal Lecter, based on the novel Red Dragon by Thomas Harris and coming out in 1986, 5 years before the huge box office and Oscar success of Silence of the Lambs. Lecter's role is much smaller in this film, and indeed smaller than in the movie Red Dragon, also adapted from the same novel in 2002, and Brian Cox's take is very different to Anthony Hopkins in the 3 subsequent movies. In interview he described evil as something that is absent rather than something that's present, and that he played Lecter as someone who's intelligent but has no moral sense whatsoever, a complete absence of empathy. Rather than the creepy pantomime villainy Anthony Hopkins portrays, to my mind, Cox's inhuman detachment gives evil a level of disquieting realism and makes him all the more chilling.
You came here to look at me, to get the old scent back again, didn't you?
I want your opinion.
I don't have one right now.
Well, when you have one, I'd like to hear it.
Do you know how you caught me, Will?
Goodbye, Dr. Lecter. You can leave messages for me at the number on
You
the
know
file.
how you caught me? The reason you caught me, Will, is you're just alike. You want the scent? Smell yourself.
Manhunter focuses more on FBI investigator Will Graham, played here by William Peterson, in a role that seems an almost prescient precursor to the one he would later make his own in the TV series CSI. He plays the haunted, sombre sage role to the hilt, and Mann takes great care to portray the psychological toll of the job, so much so that Graham's mental state becomes the main sense of peril for the character, rather than the threat that is the killer. In order to track down the Tooth Fairy, Graham must think like him, risking his own delicate psyche in the process.
Last time you did that, you did a real good job of pushing yourself all out of shape. You try it on again, or you go through some big trauma, you could relapse, my friend.
Cindy, don't worry about me. I'm working the evidence, making moves. That's all. I'm fine.
Naturally enough, a film about serial killers focuses on the psychology as much as the forensic evidence. An early scene has Graham exploring a crime scene like a conventional cop thriller, but the clues he's putting together are more concerned with the workings of the killer's mind. It's a setup for the direction the film and its main character will take in tracking down the killer.
Bloodstains on west wall of master bedroom and matted sliding marks on hall carpet remain unexplained, as does superficial ligature mark around Mr. Leach's chest, also believed to be post-mortem. What'd the killer do with them after they were dead?
His imagination and empathy are tools he can utilise to locate the killer, but as his backstory is slowly revealed, it's also a potential vulnerability. The qualities he needs are themselves a threat to his sanity. Even when the plot creates a sudden threat towards Graham's family, it is immediately mitigated in the very next scene. Throughout the movie, the peril Graham is in appears to be very much mental rather than physical. One tagline of the movie read, "Will Graham has the mind of a psychopath, thank God he's on the right side of the law." The film establishes and reinforces this throughout, even down to almost subliminally subtle details, such as when Graham enters a crime scene, the camera mirrors the same journey the killer made in the film's opening. Moving towards the final act, the film makes a switch in narrative. As Graham isolates himself in order to fully immerse himself in the killer's mindset, the film itself switches to focus onto the killer's activities, as though to reflect this. It's a neat narrative trick that works character-wise, and also allows us to see the clues in advance regarding the cine film, which will lead Graham to locate the killer. It makes the sequence in which Graham has that final revelation all the more satisfying. Manhunter is heavily stylised. This is, after all, the creator of Miami Vice at the helm. It does sometimes seem like a series of rock videos, but this technique helps to maintain an atmospheric feel. This is a film that cruises along on mood as much as plot, and there was inspired use of prog rock track In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida for the climactic showdown. Despite all this, there is a very high level of realism on display too, a meticulously detailed focus on police procedure and the mechanics of forensic investigation, giving us enough insight into this world to satisfy even the most morbid of curiosities. Again, highly reminiscent of the role Peterson would go on to take in CSI. As for the different editions of the film, the DVD I have has two versions, labelled theatrical and director's cut, both of which are subtly different to the version I originally videoed from British TV sometime in the early 90s. Trying to look into it for this review, it seems there's no real definitive edition. Several versions of the movie have been either broadcast or released on video and DVD. Each new edition seems to use a slightly different cut of the film. The main difference being the addition of an end coda where Graham visits the family intended as the Tooth Fairy's next victims. On the whole, Manhunter is an intriguing and well-told thriller. It doesn't stint on emotional impact and drama. The lead roles fit their characters perfectly, performing with conviction, and the support cast is also excellent. Manhunter also offers an insight into the world of forensic investigation that most of us only get from watching films like this.